No, they took away my,
The time is 7:30. I call the February 4th meeting of Yardley Borough Council to order. Please rise for the pledge to our flag, which is here, not there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a sneaky suspicion that you all are not here to hear about authorizations to bid for the Phase 3 of the sidewalk. So we will start with some part-time police hires. Chief Kelly, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Yardley Borough is served by dedicated police officers who provide police services on various shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and play a vital role in the efficient and effective delivery of services to the borough. We currently have vacancies for part-time police officers. The applications were reviewed. The applicants were interviewed by Manager Johnson and myself, and then presented to the Public Safety Committee for further examination. The panels interviewed the applicants and were satisfied with the candidates' knowledge, skills, background, and abilities. It is recommended that we conditionally hire both William Boudet and John Furley III as part-time police officers pending the successful completion of all MOPEC eligibility requirements. I respectfully request council consider a motion for Yardley Borough to extend these conditional officers to both candidates pending these certifications.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
A motion is made by Councilperson Segal-Morris, seconded by Councilperson Finer. Any discussion from council? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
We're going to call up the candidates individually for your oath of office. John Furley III, if you could please approach with your family. And Officer Furley is formerly a police officer with the Myrtle Beach Police Department in South Carolina.
You can go, stay right behind me, absolutely. Two steps out. All right, there you go, perfect. So good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Harding. I'm mayor here in Yardley Borough. Obviously, before we swear John in, we always like to make a statement about how we feel about our police departments and the challenge they're taking on. So at Yardley Borough, obviously, we respect, have pride, try to support our police department as much as we can possibly, and we understand the challenges of the job you're entering for us, and we do not take that lightly. So to your family, friends that are here this evening, please know that we will do everything we can to help you be successful in your position. So if you're ready, let's get you sworn in, okay? All right, great. So I need you to please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'll take this out so you look pretty pictures. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend
That I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
I will uphold the laws and ordinances
I will uphold the laws and ordinances
of the Borough of Yardley,
of the Borough of Yardley,
and I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of a non-civil service police officer
of a non-civil service police officer
with fidelity
with fidelity
and to the best of my judgment and ability.
and to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations, welcome to Yardley Borough Police Department. So again, for those of you who have not been here before, Chief Kelly did start a fantastic tradition in his time here, and that is to have someone other than myself or Chief Kelly put your first badge on, family or friends. So we doing it here? All right. So I can be dangerous. I'm getting old, I can't see. Can you see that? Hey, you know what? We'll let Chief work on that one.
This has never happened before.
It's true.
There we go, we got it.
What did you
Okay.
say, Bob?
So you don't need to go crazy and so that you kind of. way so you can for pictures. There you go.
Let's wait till we get
Okay.
the second officer sworn in,
Okay. I'll give you your.
and then we'll come back up.
Give you that back. Thank you. Grab a seat real quick.
Officer William Bedeau, please approach. Officer Bedeau is a recent graduate of the Temple University Police Academy.
So I just want to make sure you memorized the oath that I just gave you.
I tried my best.
Is that little one with you?
That's my little brother.
Now come up. Come on. I need you on my side, okay?
Okay.
Remember this together. Fair enough? All right. You ready? Yes, sir. All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you swear on this thing?
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
That I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
I will uphold the laws and ordinances
I will uphold the laws and ordinances
of the Borough of Yardley,
of the Borough and Yardley,
and I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of a non-civil service police officer
of a non-civil service police officer
with fidelity
with fidelity
and to the best of my judgment
and to the best of my judgment
and ability.
and ability.
Congratulations, welcome to Yardley Borough Police Department. Okay, we got one more, is it here? There you go, just again, be very careful, we got 10 out. However you like to feel. Congratulations. You want up here?
Thank you, families, if you want.
Guys in the back, Adam, you want up, guys? Yeah, whatever family wants to get in, jump on in. Okay, so everybody in the front has to take one step forward. There you go, give some room in the back, there you go. You good? All right.
Welcome to Yardley. To the Officer Rodang. Officer Rodang, go.
I did. It was a bad bet.
Welcome and congratulations again to our newest officers.
They're going to do check presentations, so maybe we'll just leave them up for that and then put them away. I don't know. What do you think?
They wanted to stay, I forced them out.
Okay.
You have word, read that.
We'll leave them for the checks. Yeah, we'll move them.
Yes. Can you take some pictures if I'm not back? Of course.
All right, next up, we're thrilled to welcome up our Parks and Recreation Board to present some checks from their races that they run every year. We're very proud of this committee that has found creative ways to not only self-fund the work that they do, but to give back to organizations in our community. It's truly a model that I hope that other committees that we have can follow, and we're very proud of that board. So Parks and Rec, please come up. I know it's a little awkward, but can you hold this because it'll go on the live stream? Well, maybe, let me give you this one instead. Hold on. Just stand to the side. Thank you.
Hi guys, so we are the Parks and Rec Board of Yardley Borough. So let me go ahead and introduce my team. We have Sue, Emily, Elise, Jill, Lisa, Kevin, and Carol. And I'm Makefield. So first of all, thank you, Council, for having us here and allowing us to present. The board is excited to announce that for the second year, we are donating back a total of $10,000 to our community and its various organizations. So come January of each year, the board hits the ground running as we prepare planning for the 5K and the annual Memorial Mile each year. Each year, the races continue to grow and expand, with participants coming from various states to run, such as Delaware, New York, and Maryland. In the last 2 years, our race members have been 5 years old, being the youngest, and 95 being the oldest, to participate. So this year, the board is excited to announce that our 5K race will be participating in the Bucks 5K series. It is a series of 7 races in Bucks County where runners are able to participate of all abilities and ages. The series spans from March to June annually. We would also like to extend a sincere thank you to Manager Paula Johnson, Patty, Wes, and Chief Kelly for bearing the year and helping us timelessly and working with the board, ensuring these races continue to be safe. The dates for the Memorial Mile will be Monday, May 26th, and the 5K walk/run will be Sunday, June 1st this year. This year's race proceeds will focus on replacing the well-loved tot lot. We are projecting to tackle our biggest project yet, as it will cost a lot. Now for the donations. So the board this year has allocated $2,500 to the Pico lot development and a placement of a new borough trash can. So first, we would like to present Friends of Lake Afton, $750. To Miss Michelle.
I'm gonna switch your hats real quick.
Thank you for all you do to maintain Lake Afton and all its glorious and our scenic Yardley Borough. Next up is Gather Place.
Oh.
Thank you for preserving one of our special little histories in Yardley Borough. And we hope that this will continue and help grow in the community. Gather Place. Thank you.
Okay, ready? One, oh, circle down. There you go. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Legion. Oh. Next up is American Legion 317. Thank you to Commander Ted for all you do and for doing the memorial parade and maintaining our flags and just maintaining a great Memorial Day. Thank you.
Hey, 1, 2, 3, got it.
Next up is the Yardley Police Department. Thank you for keeping us safe and helping with our races, our silly events, and everything else that we put on in this town. Couldn't do it without you.
Ouch, that hurt.
Next up is the Yardley Historic Association. Thank you for all you do that in maintaining the ye old library and maintaining all of Yardley's history through your tours and guides and the library.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Looks great.
All right, and our last check goes to Experience Yardley. Thank you for an amazing Canaloween. We hope that you guys continue to do this every single year as it has become one of a great event that this town does every single year. So thank you.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, David, here come the flags.
Okay. I trust Andrew. Okay.
One more job. Yes, I am. One of them. And this one. And we just need that.
Thanks again to Parks and Recreation. The check presentations always make me really proud to live here, not only of Parks and Rec, but the organizations they give to. It's a great showcase of all of the, not only amazing organizations, but all of the volunteers that volunteer like it's their full-time job, and we're very grateful for each and every one of you, so thank you. Moving on, backing up to roll call, please, Manager Johnson.
Ms. Thompson?
Present.
Ms. Segal-Morris?
Present.
Mr. Applebaum?
Here.
Ms. Scherer?
Present.
Mr. Carlson?
Present.
Mr. Feiner? Present. And Mr. Stump?
With 6 members present, we have a quorum. Next, we will do community announcements. This is the portion of the meeting where members of council or the public can tell us about upcoming events that are happening around town. Any community announcements first from the table? Any community announcements from the public? Yes, Ms. Corsi.
Hello, Shirley Corsi from Canal Street in Yardley. I'm also from Gather Place Museum at the Old AME Church on Canal Street in Yardley. We have quite a few Black History Month celebrations on Saturday, February 8th from 2 to 3 p.m. at the Levittown Bucks County Free Library. They're sponsoring our Harriet Tubman Live event. On Sunday, February 16th, at the Village Library of Wrightstown. They're also sponsoring our Harriet Tubman lecture, and it's from 2 to 3 at the Village Library of Wrightstown. If you go to our website, gatherplace.org, you can see all the additional information. And on Saturday, February 22nd, at Gather Place, I'm giving a lecture titled The Underground Railroad Throughout Bucks County and Beyond. And then my last event is a collaboration with the Pennsbury Manor. They have a wonderful, the country estate of Pennsbury Manor. I'm sure many of your children have probably been over there. So they've asked me to collaborate with them for a program, and it's going to be all about the William Penn Manor and the protests of the first slavery from the Germantown Quakers. So it's going to be quite an event at Pennsbury Manor, 400 Pennsbury Memorial Road, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other community announcements? Yes, Ms. Taylor.
Susan Taylor, the Yardley Historical Association. This Saturday is the book swap. We've been doing it for 20 years now, which sort of amazes me. On February 22nd, in competition with Shirley, unfortunately, we're having a short walk, Old Library down Afton Avenue. We're going to talk about Lake Afton, the Delaware Canal, the Delaware River, and if the river cooperates, we'll sit in that very nice seating, put in by Spearhead. That's great. And then on March 13th, we're going to do How Did Yardley Get Its Name? And it wasn't William Yardley particularly. So Charlie Tomford, our local resident historian, is doing a lot of intense research. William Yardley did not die of smallpox. I'll let that out.
Has he concluded his research yet, or he doesn't even know the answer yet?
Oh, no, we definitively know that.
Excellent.
That was one of those, oh, this story's easy. Everybody died of smallpox. No.
Well, cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger, yes.
We won't know till then.
So come on over.
Thank you so much. Any other community announcements this evening? We have a busy late winter here in Yardley, it seems. Okay, hearing none, I'll close community announcements and open up public comment. This is the portion of the meeting where members of public can approach council, state their name and address, and keep their comments to 3 minutes per item. This is for items not on the agenda this evening. Any public comment? Yes.
No.
Welcome, Mr. Levine. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. So Brad Levine, 202 Yardley Commons. And I just had a question about something in particular, which I don't know about, but there's some construction going on Reading Avenue where that we buy it or we sell any house or whatever it was sign used to be. Do you know what's going in there? Against the railroad tracks?
Township.
I'm sorry?
Lower Makefield Township.
That's part of Lower Makefield on Reading Avenue? Okay. I was just curious because I noticed a week and a half ago it was cleared, and I'm like, seems a little strange. So, but that's the only question I really had.
Yeah, the municipal lines on Reading Avenue are pretty jagged. I always have to question, is this the borough or is this LMT on that road? So they zigzag in and out, but
Okay,
That parcel is not ours.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment this evening? All right, thank you. We'll now consider the consent agenda, which only has one item this evening, approval of minutes dated January 21st, 2025.
Consider that item separately.
Sure. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Councilperson Finer, seconded by Councilperson Carlson. Any discussion from council? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. You also have before you, I'm sorry, the police chief's report. Anything besides the part-time hiring, Chief Kelly?
Yes, ma'am. I have monthly service statistics. I'm bringing them up now. They were up a second ago. For January 2025, the police department handled 747 calls for service, issued 2 parking tickets, conducted 114 traffic stops, resulting in 67 traffic citations, investigated 8 traffic accidents, and our co-responder had 17 encounters for the month of January. I would like to highlight some of the work done by our co-responder because we're beginning to track her statistics. Co-responder Zarco joined us on 4/10/24 under that grant that we know about. In that time, she has had, in Yardley Borough alone, she served 29 clients with initial encounters and had 158 follow-up encounters with those clients for 187 total encounters, and has been a big relief to the police department with a lot of social services. So I wanted to highlight that, and I'll report monthly on what she's up to. And that concludes my report, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you give a little bit more background on what a co-responder is and how that's additive to our force, how she's different than what our police do?
Sure, absolutely. She's a co-responder. Zarco is a shared asset with Morrisville Borough and Lower Makefield Township and us. She serves 3 municipalities, and she follows up anytime there's a need for in-depth social services that the police officer would be unable to normally provide because of his or her schedule. She handles things like family disputes. She handles things like mental health needs, any type of special needs that the aging, the elderly that are become victim of the fraud. It's basically endless, the services that she can provide, but she becomes a bridge and conduit to all the social services that are available throughout Bucks County and the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Chief. We're glad to have her for sure. You have before you the finance report dated February 4th, 2025. If there are no issues, questions, or comments, it will be accepted by consensus. All right, manager's report, please.
First quarter trash payments have been arriving daily. I started to investigate the possibility of billing for the entire year at the beginning of the year due to the rising costs of the quarterly billing, especially postage alone. Many municipalities already do this, or they already have it into the tax bill. Should this change move forward, we would begin to inform residents immediately and continue throughout the year just to get the word out. But it's something that we're thinking about, we're talking about, and we will let everybody know. The audit is in full swing. The auditor has been requesting numerous items, which we've been providing. He has been on site Friday, February 7th for the full day. All is moving along smoothly with that. We began pulling boxes that can be shredded because of our continued efforts with this, getting these documents cleaned up in the closet. We only have about 4 boxes that need to be shredded this year. This will be on a future agenda for approval by council. Good old Mother Nature is keeping our snow contractor busy with ice and snow. I received numerous compliments on our roads, many saying that they are the best in the area. I did have one conversation with a resident in Whiskey Hill who had an issue with a plow, which was rectified with a simple conversation between the 2 parties. I sent a letter to Mr. Rutterow thanking him for the donation of Judy's Garden. If anybody wishes to see this letter, just let me know and I'll send it to you. Great news in the world of CRS. Many, many hours of reviewing and submitting documentation over the past 2 years. The borough received notification that our class rating was increased to a 7. which means there'll be a 15% discount to our residents in the floodplain for the NFIP insurance. This will be effective October 1st, 2025. The next rating cycle won't be until 2029. Huge thank you to Wes for his continued efforts for our residents in the floodplain and taking care of this CRS. It's a lot. Very much deserved for Wes. We had 2 right to knows in January. One is actually in appeal, but I'm pretty confident we will win. 1 zoning permit, 11 building permits. I attended the zoning hearing board last week. On the 27th, there was 2 hearings. Both received the requested variances, and we will have a zoning hearing board in February for 1 hearing for 25 North Delaware. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any
May I ask a
questions?
question to the manager?
Yes, please, Councilperson Applebaum.
Thank you. You mentioned that there is only, I think, 2 right-to-know requests, and one of them is an appeal.
Yes.
May I ask how costly that is for the borough, or is it costly for the borough when we have an appeal?
It will cost something to the borough because it does go to our right-to-know solicitor. And then she has to provide all kinds of documentation to Harrisburg.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Manager Johnson?
I would just like to make a comment.
Yeah, sure.
I thoroughly look forward to your manager's reports every time you put one in. They're very, very thorough, and I really enjoy reading them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Moving on to the engineer's report. Thank you, Manager Johnson.
Thank you. We've issued our engineer's report to council in your packets. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, or we can move on to the agenda item.
Any questions for Mr. Foley on the report first? All right.
Okay, thank you. What we're requesting is the authorization to advertise for bids for the Phase 3 North Main Street Sidewalk project. As we've talked about at previous council meetings, the permitting and bid documents for the North Main Street Sidewalk project Phase 3 are being finalized. At this time, we would like to request authorization to advertise for public bid. This project is for the continuation of a new sidewalk along easterly side of North Main Street from Mary Yardley Access Path at 136 North Main Street to the south corner of McKinley Avenue. Lower Makefield is planning the construction of the sidewalk on McKinley Avenue and north. And then what we're also working on is intersection upgrades and crosswalks along our North Main Street sidewalk project. Additional improvements include ADA ramps, driveway aprons, driveway restorations, stormwater collection and conveyance design. At this time, the project received 2 grants. One is the 2021 MTF DCED grant for the amount of $575,369. The second grant was the DCED MTF grant from 2023, and that was for the amount of $1,031,451. The advertising and bid opening dates will be scheduled with the borough as we further coordinate with PennDOT and finalize the bid documents. The construction schedule will be coordinated post-award and follow the required gas main relocation work by PECO.
Thank you. So we're looking for a motion tonight to authorize advertisement for North Main Street Phase 3, and then once we have a motion on the table, we can discuss.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion was made by Councilperson Finer, seconded by Councilperson Scherer, I think. Discussion from council. Mr. Finer.
Yeah, first I just want to commend Pat Foley, our engineer at RVE, for staying tight to the milestone schedule that we created for this. We really didn't want this to slip. Now, I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves, but this authorization got to bid. We don't have the approval from PennDOT yet, but we're close. So the idea is that this is being the final, hopefully final, modifications, revisions will be submitted on February 7th, and then The reason we're doing this tonight and not at the next meeting is so that should we get the final stamp from PennDOT, we can go right out to bid. We don't have to wait because every day matters. Now, the big loose cannon with a project like this is always, it goes to PennDOT and you never know what's going to happen. So far, I think it's been a pretty good process. They've been in communication with the engineer, but we've seen everything happen. So, that's the part we can't control. But what I appreciate is that we're tight on the part that we can control. So we'll keep you posted, but that's where we're at.
Excellent. Any comments, questions from council?
Here, question for Pat. Once we do go out for bid, how many days will they get to respond? Like, how long will the period be for them to, bids due typically?
Typically, we have the bid period to be a month. There are the advertisement requirements. We have the first advertisement and the second advertisement. And you need a certain amount of days after that second advertisement. So we'll firm up that schedule, but we would give them a little bit more time, typically a month, but then we'll sequence that so we could open up the bid about a week before our council meeting is how we typically try to schedule, the bid opening.
Okay, good.
Other questions? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Anything else this evening, Mr. Foley?
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thanks so much. All right, we have up next council member, the mayor's report, please.
So just briefly, we want to call your attention to the fantastic manager in green. So just want to make sure everybody looks at her and knows that she is so excited to cheer her Eagles on. So thank you. That's my report this evening.
Thank you.
You got it. I just couldn't let a losing bet go by too easy.
Which one of you lost the bet?
Ms. Johnson.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Solicitor's report, please.
Also pertaining to the sidewalk project, I spoke with Attorney Klosser at my office. He's been in communication with First National Bank to obtain a term sheet for a grant anticipation loan. He expects that we should have that term sheet in time for the March meeting. So the process at that point would be then we'd have to authorize to advertise basically a borrowing ordinance. So it looks like March will be the date on that.
Thank you. And just for the public background on that, we talked about this a few months ago. There's just a timing issue with cash flow on receiving the grant funds and paying the contractors. And so a grant anticipation loan will allow us to get through our milestones in terms of payment before we receive refunds from the grant. Thank you. Council member reports. Councilperson Segal-Morris.
No report this evening.
Thank you. Councilperson Finer.
Yeah, Public Works met to discuss our vision for the year, what we want to get done. And we're actually going to bring that up at the next meeting, the discussion meeting. But some of the big projects that are really exciting is to work with Parks and Rec on the Pico lot, Judy's Garden, right? So you have these two great properties that we want to outfit for public use as soon as possible. And then we have the North Main Street Sidewalk project that we want to participate in getting the residents, make sure the residents have good communication around it. People are very excited for it and just make sure that everything goes well. And then we have grant applications. We want to get additional funding for doing the stretch of sidewalk along Dolington, that little stretch from Lower Makefield to the corner of North Main Street in Dolington, where the Taylorsville Road intersection is, and to get flashing beacons so that that crosswalk that's part of the North Main Street sidewalk would have beacons to assist with crossing there because it's a bit of a higher speed road. So getting a grant to help with that, we already have one application in. We'd like to get another application because the engineering cost of that project. And then to get a design and planning/planning grant for doing the sidewalk on Afton. That's another big item for us. These are all things we just want to see, make sure that we make steps towards not just talk about one day we'll do that, but actually take proactive steps to doing. And then, of course, we're going to find out what happened with our Borough Hall grant for the roof. and figure out how we're going to take care of that one way or another. So more on that in 2 weeks. And the other thing I'll just say is that there was an incident, I think it's important for us to talk about when a pedestrian is hit in a crosswalk, and it happened on Main and Afton. Fortunately, it wasn't serious, and these things happen. That intersection, when I first started getting interested in that intersection, you probably remember, those of you who have been in town, there was no walk light, there were no buttons, and it was low key, and we had a lot less pedestrian traffic. We had kind of a slower retail scene. What's nice is you have people walking around town all the time now, but that presents more challenge and more opportunities for interactions between cars and people. So we redid the intersection through a grant, and then we added the lead pedestrian interval, which you may not know what that is, but it makes the walk on one, because of PennDOT regulations, we can't do both directions, but in one direction, when you walk and cross the street, the walk sign is lit before the cars can turn for like 3 seconds to have time to be visible in the intersection. These things help, but they're not perfect. The ideal that many of us have spoken about, and this is what I want to bring up, we spoke with Mr. Foley about it. What would it take to do a 4-way stop where you push the button and it's basically, when the pedestrian wants to cross, it's red in all directions. And PennDOT has a lot of rules about that. But my view is that, just like they had rules about the speed limit in Yardley can't be lowered to 25, and one very industrious resident got the governor to say, no, lower it to 25, and it was. Just like that, I think that with special situations, I think there's always a way. So we're going to look into what avenues exist to doing that. And the reasoning is just because the intersection is geographically oriented in such a way that no matter what you do, you're going to have these blind spots. And I would just like us to do whatever we can do before someone gets really hurt there. We all kind of know what that's like to cross that street. So that's just the other item, and I think that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilperson Carlson.
I think there was a...
Oh, sorry, question. I apologize. Sure, can you just come up to the microphone? Apologies.
Regarding sidewalks, are there plans to extend the sidewalk from Brees Drive to the Lower Makefield line?
I'm happy to add that to our list. There isn't a plan to do so, but
Well,
yeah. I mean,
Well, we don't know what side we're going to do it on, but we're currently exploring grant opportunities for Afton Avenue. So
you're talking about Afton?
I'm talking
Where
about.
it-
Oh, I thought you were talking
where
about
it
Breeze.
ends,
Okay.
where it ends, right at Breeze
Yeah,
Street.
well,
on that
that's...
side.
Yeah, the sidewalk, actually, the sidewalk extends beyond Brees Drive,
Yeah.
under pine trees.
Right, and then it just stops.
And then
Covered by ivy.
a slope
Right.
comes down with poison ivy.
Yeah, that's what I spoke about, the design grant, because the thing is, that is so complicated to get through there. There's a bridge there, and there's that, and which side we're going to go on.
Need
There's
for
kind
retaining
of,
walls.
it needs to be looked at as a unit, including the Lower Makefield side, to figure out how we get,
As a Yardley Borough resident,
yeah.
I only care that it gets beyond
Right.
the Yardley Borough line.
Right.
And there is a sidewalk there. You literally have to go very close to the traffic to get from Brees to look over.
It's the hodgepodge that happens when there's no holistic plan to do something.
Or there's a slope there.
Right. But it also is something we've spoken to Lower Makefield about, because really, you go a little further and add a little more sidewalk, and then you hook up to an existing sidewalk that connects to a lot of people. So
Right.
it
Okay.
needs to be done.
I was just hoping that was on a list.
That's on the list, yes. High priority.
Any other comments or questions for our Public Works Committee? Okay, Councilperson Carlson.
Yeah, I have two things to report on. One is the short-term lodging ordinance, as we discussed at the last meeting. We wanted to have the revisions done to that and then get it over to planning for them to look at it. Those revisions were made, and it's now in planning's hands to take a look at, to get comments on. So that's moving along. And hopefully we'll have something back at the end of February so that in March we can move to the next step. The second thing is I urge all council members to try to be here in the next council meeting, 2/18, because we're going to have a special guest from the sewer board. The sewer board's going to come here and make a presentation to us at council about the sewer project that's going to be going through and putting in the new sewer mains, and how the effect will be in the construction schedule, and how people will know when it's happening throughout the borough. They will be going out to bid very shortly on that, and so you'll see that project starting probably in late spring. But they're going to lay it all out as to what the timing is, when it's going to affect us, how we're going to get communicated as to when construction is in which portions of the borough. So that'll be a presentation at the next council meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Councilperson Applebaum.
Thank you. There's a number of things I wanted to go over. First, Michelle and I both attended the YBA meeting tonight. They reorganized, so they have a new president. Also, they discussed firming up their mission and also how to better serve the business community. I take interest in that, not from the community outreach side, but from the economic development side, because one of my concerns and things I've been working on is to help promote this town through promoting our local businesses. Second thing is, I was on a Harvest Day meeting recently. Just wanted to point out that events that these different groups do, whether it's the YBA's parade or the Harvest Day, it's a year-long, planning cycle, and I really commend those people, and I'm on Harvest Day to, get this work done, so we have very successful events in this town. I'll be meeting along with Rich Wayne, with the chief and Wes on the 10th, and EAC, I'm the liaison on that. There was a little discussion because there's further work needed on the Birdtown application. Patty Kleiner, who I just happened to catch sitting there, not to put you on the spot, but we got additional information. I think we're firming that up. Okay, so that should be done soon. I'd be happy to provide the success of that application, and us will eventually be a bird town, like our surrounding communities. Also, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier, I forgot, the Great Backyard Bird Count. It's going to take place on, and make sure I'm saying the right information, February 15th. The Great Backyard Bird Count is an annual bird count spanning 4 days in February that participants across the world contribute data on birds. And one of our newer members, Julie Passini, is heading that up, and along with our other birders. And you can get more information from the EAC Facebook page. And speaking of social media and refresh and marketing, Zach Bark is very involved in working to get that completed so that we have a more available list and accessibility to this information. And finally, I don't know if you know this person, but the AC, along with Michael Thompson, he might be related to you, I don't know, is working to close out the Buck Creek Watershed Grant, which is a grant that pre-exists the current commission. Michael was very generous in coming back and sort of helping us close that out, because we really don't have the history with that grant. But once it is completed and we are able to decipher all the data, the point of the grant was to not get something done as like a public works item, but information on things that could be done, and thus that grant would have to be followed up with other grants or other fundraising to see if there's any of those items that are recommended can be successfully done in town. But I look forward to that challenge as much, and though I'm the liaison, I mean, when I say we, I mean the EAC. And I was, and Spearhead Project Earth is contributing time and effort into that too. We just hired a full-time scientist, environmental scientist that's working along with me and will help, and is coming to your meetings to help decipher and guide you on those issues. Went to HARB meetings, and that's it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Councilperson Scherer. Nothing to report. Thank you. And Councilperson Stump is not here. Any discussion items that were not submitted in advance that anyone would like to bring up for the good of the order? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to our other business. We have 2 items. The first is evaluation and increase for the borough manager. Manager Johnson is contractually, she contractually gets a yearly increase. It can be 3 percentages, 3% for meets expectations, 4% for exceeds expectations, and 5% for outstanding. We met, her goals for the year are in 4 categories: financial management, people management, project management, and communications and relationships. We met as her management team, which is myself, Vice President Feiner, and the Chair of General Government, who is Councilperson Carlson, to go over her performance review last week. This is for fiscal year '24. We collected feedback from the 3 of us, obviously, but also from council and from also staff and vendors in a 360 evaluation format. There was strong feedback from everyone in her financial management skills and the improvements in town hall type updates on the budget, reporting on financial managers to council and the community, being accessible and responsive to community members and to council. Just reading over the summaries here. And then we went over just areas to focus on in the next year. So long-term financial strategy, structured budget reporting, which there was some disagreement among council whether we're already doing that or not, enhanced communication consistency, improved accessibility of public notices, and professionalism in some media. So we had a very robust conversation. I feel that Manager Johnson is always very open to feedback. We do want to implement some changes in the next year. One of the changes will be a way to collect feedback from everyone on an ongoing basis. So Manager Johnson is getting feedback right away instead of waiting for a quarterly review or an end of year review. So Councilperson Feiner and I are working on some sort of form submission that council members can drop not only constructive criticisms into, but praise into, and we have a kudos for her when she's doing a great job on something. And we hope to have that rolled out by the end of this month so we can hit the ground running for fiscal year '25, which we're already 2 months into. What am I missing?
Well, I think I would just emphasize that I appreciate your willingness to listen and take feedback. And I think that where we as a council maybe, it's a hard structure because you have 7 of us, you have 1 of you, Manager Johnson, and it's hard to be in a situation. Imagine having 7 bosses, right? Not a very easy situation. Each one with different ideas of what it's like to be a boss and what they expect from a manager. So that's just a given complexity of the situation. I think where we can do better as a council, and what we addressed in the conversation is being more immediate with feedback. And so, in other words, once a year is not a very good feedback loop. So we have this idea of doing right away feedback, but also to actually give feedback. If there's something that worked well for you, let Paula know. If there's something that didn't work well for you and it would have worked better a different way, well, how is she supposed to improve if she doesn't know what it is? So I think we're going to try this and set the tone for the future to work that way. And I think that gives you an opportunity to keep improving your skill set, which this is like a complex job. It was easier like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's gotten more technologically, requires higher technical ability, aptitude, and there's just more moving pieces than there was. I mean, you can feel that just coming to these meetings and seeing the amount of material that we have to go over. And so it's a challenging position, and I think that that's going to help with, kind of all of us moving up our abilities as a group working together.
Yeah, so you reminded me of two other things I wanted to mention. We're going to be doing the quarterly reviews, and we'll be rotating in council members on those, so it's not just the three of us providing feedback. And also, you may have noticed in Manager Johnson's report for tonight, there are some green follow-up items at the end, which are our action items that we have not completed yet. And I think she has 7 bosses who are also 7 volunteers, and sometimes, I don't know about you, you're like, oh, I think there was something that I was supposed to do for Paula and I can't remember. Well, now it's going to be on the manager's report, which I hope we can all appreciate as good accountability to make sure that we are doing what we need to do so that Manager Johnson can do her job. Councilperson Carlson, anything you'd like to add?
No, I just wanted to add from a financial management perspective, 2024 was a very good year, and Paul has managed well, together with Patty, to be very good at forecasting where our expenses came in for 2024. We were almost right on what we thought back in October, and the budget process gets easier each year. So I thank you for that effort in that arena.
So from the feedback I collected, it wasn't directly related to like, hey, what raise do you want to give Paula? But she averaged in all of her categories. And this is so, I always say, this is so awkward. Who among us has to do our performance review in front of an audience, right? So thank you, Paula, for having grace with this. She averaged between 4 and 5 on a scale from 1 to 5. And again, that's not necessarily directly related to 3%, 4%, and 5%, but around 4 was her average with council feedback, staff, and vendors around 5. So I'm looking for a motion tonight to approve an increase for her. Would anyone like to make a motion and specify the amount?
So moved, and 4%?
There's a motion on the table to increase Paula's effective salary by 4%. This will be retroactively dated to 1/1/2025. Is there, motion was made by Councilperson Segal-Morris, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion from council.
The parameters, I'm sorry, Madam President. The parameters, I'm just reading them, so it's 3% for meets expectations, 4% exceeds expectations, and 5% for outstanding.
Correct.
Okay, and just a question to, it's hard to discuss this in public. Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, just for clarity there.
Just a thought here for the future. Just to clarify, I guess, the 3 levels of meets, exceeds, or outstanding are based on the standard job duties list.
Yes. So it's not anything like above and beyond the standard or special project.
Based on these items.
I also mention every year that our staff do not get COLA increases. So I like to think of what we're voting on as, COLA this year, cost of living, was 2.5%. Well, actually, I think that's 2025. I think it was a little higher in 2024. So the 3% is a 0.5 increase over COLA. The 4% is a 1.5 increase over COLA. So I think we're talking about COLA plus a little bit for performance.
So I just wonder if, in the future, the way we could do this more quantitatively is just list these items and just have meets, exceeds, outstanding on each item. And that way, there's just a score of the 7 people, and you just average that, and then you average the final score, and that's whatever it is, whatever one it falls under. I know you did a version of that, but I'm just wondering if you just direct.
Yeah, and I think
so we don't
also
have this awkward situation of having to.
Yes. Not everyone participated also, so that's why I'm kind of leaving it open. You don't just accept the number, we have to have a discussion. And then I think Paula has mentioned before, like I think we just need to be clear in her contract when we negotiate the next contract of what this looks like, because if it's spelled out in our contract, it's very easy how we handle it.
So I'll just add, if you don't mind, barring anything significant from anyone who didn't vote, I would say that you said the numbers were between 4 and 5, and so I'm just going to use that as a guide and say I support the Kim's motion.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yeah, sure.
Presuming, I would almost assume, but we never do, presuming that Manager Johnson improves, as we usually do, next year, can you get a 4.5?
Not in the current contract. So her contract is up for renewal next year, and that all of the percentages and the way that it's determined will be up for discussion. I also want to highlight that our collective bargaining with our civil service police officers is also up for renegotiation this year. So it's definitely something that we should look at every time we renegotiate our contracts. Not only are we rewarding performance, but are our performance increases fair and equitable when inflation is as high as it has been lately.
So we should rate it on how the cost of eggs, not call it that.
Well, we could have a cost of living increase that's guaranteed every year, and then just performance, and some municipalities do it that way. And that's why there's no option to give 0, like it meets as is our, unless, she's under a performance review. Okay, any other comments or questions? Any comments or questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Manager Johnson.
Thank you all.
All right, this next one should be a little easier. So if you were at the last meeting, we talked about wanting to get feedback on our short-term, or short-term lodging, we're supposed to call it now, right? Not short-term rental, short-term lodging. And on something as major a change as this, we want to get more feedback than just the 3 or 4 people. We have more tonight, but usually 3 or 4 people who come to our meetings. So beyond putting it in a ballot referendum, what would that look like? In the past, when we've wanted large-scale input on an item, we've gone door-to-door and flyered and had them submit to a survey link. That's not, the EAC probably wouldn't like that. Lots of paper blowing around the town if we have a windstorm, and the response rate is not great. So instead, we pivoted to talk about trying to grow our email distribution list, and then people can opt in if they want to participate in surveys related to the borough. So in the packet, we have a Yardley Borough email subscription growth plan, and the objective is to just, over the next several months, have more Yardley Borough residents sign up, and that be confirmed via address. Business owners in the borough employees, government officials, boards and commissions, community organizations, and frequent visitors to Yardley can also be part of the list, but obviously they wouldn't be necessarily voting on our ordinance changes unless we were voting on something that would impact the broader public and not just our residents. So this is just a discussion item, really. If everything looks good or any changes we want to make from here, Councilperson Viner had a great idea that community outreach should kind of take it from here once we grow the list and figure out how specifically we want to design our surveys and get feedback from people, or what is the content of our biweekly mailings. Getting on a schedule, I think, with those mailings is important so people can know to expect. They're going to hear from the borough every other week, and I'm going to get the agenda in that email, and I'm going to hear what council's voting on, and then there might be a survey link for feedback. So any comments or changes on this?
First, thank you for putting this together, because I love that it was like, the idea was we want to reach out to people, what they think about this, because we said regarding short-term STL, short-term lodging. I'm going to be stuck with short-term rental. It's like the Pico lot. It never goes away. The Yardley Borough Trailhead. Okay. So the idea is that there's that issue, but really to say, okay, well, we don't have a mechanism for this, and to use a problem like that to to realize that we need this for many other reasons. I think I appreciate that we're taking initiative to do that. And I think that regarding the one item here, which is in red about the opt-in on the website, which I think is very important, I'll tell you why in a moment, but I think that is something that I'm going to resist volunteering to do it, although if we can't get it done, I will volunteer to do it, or I'll volunteer David Applebaum and myself to do it, because I'm sure we could probably figure it out pretty quickly. But because we have an organization that's handling our website for us generously, FC Media, maybe they could put the opt-in on the website. I just think that's really important to have an opt-in, because
So
the
it
reason is because, sorry.
It was a limit on mailer light side, so when you go into the build campaign subscribe, you can't change the fields. So we couldn't collect addresses or other information that we needed, and then you also couldn't get the URLs to embed within our website. That was not included. So we might just have to pay for it, which is fine. I
Yeah.
think this is important,
Pay a
but
little.
it wasn't available, it wasn't easily available in the free. So to do it in the free, we'd have to direct people from a tab of our website over to MailerLite, and they
Yeah.
would self-input their email address and their name,
Yeah.
but no physical address, which,
So MailerLite, we did like the free, but it's not very expensive, the paid plan. It's cheaper than the other ones, and it's pretty good, actually. It's way cheaper than MailChimp, I think, and people like MailerLite. So I think we should pay for it, because they can get support and all that. It's not very, it's like $10 or $20 a month. But the reason it's important, and actually Michelle brought this up last time, and it's a good point, that when you ask people to sign up for emails, you can't read it later. And if you have it on the website, you can go, like, assuming we have a door-to-door campaign with community outreach, or whoever else wants to volunteer and go to door-to-door to missing people, you can just bring up the Yardley Borough website and have them type it in on your phone or whatever right there. And the nice thing about that is they trust the email is going to Yardley Borough, and they put it in, and it's just an easy way to collect it.
yeah, they're not putting it on a piece of paper and then we can't
Yeah.
read it, or, yeah.
Exactly.
I did get feedback from Jared earlier, and he thinks that weekly is way too often, and he works in this field. So that was helpful feedback. The goal should be biweekly or every other week. I know biweekly could mean two things, or monthly would be the gold standard, but sometimes I know we don't know a month in advance what council is necessarily voting on.
Yeah, I did give that some thought too, and I was thinking, because we have that issue of 24 hours and how do you send the thing out? So either it's sent out in succession with the council meetings, or if there's some ideas of what's going to be on, it can be listed, and then you could say something like, for the latest, on this date, it'll be posted and at this link, and just link to it. And that could be like a happy medium, maybe, because you don't want to be in that 24-hour crunch and then having to send out an email. So,
Yep.
and we can find.
And a piece of this is also related, that we're working with FC on creating a document library that would potentially have private documents for council that are still under consideration, but also eventually public documents beyond the agenda that could be accessible, like plans for the sidewalk, if people who live near where the sidewalk is being built want to see those. So we're trying to bring ourselves to pull ourselves into the 21st century here with this. Any other comments or questions on this? Obviously, it's not set in stone, it's just a plan, but does this generally look like we're going in the right direction?
Just two comments. One is having the opt-in be easy, so that you go there, whether it's QR code or a link, and then self-enter the information is important. And I think we should also distinguish that to people when they sign up, whether they're an owner or they're a tenant, because that may affect some of the surveys and things that we want to do, so we know who's who.
The one caution is just that the more you ask people, the more likely you are to get, them to not do it. So you have to kind of find a, balance, or maybe have some fields that are required and some that are optional and be okay with not having, because I agree with you, it'd be great to have it. But,
Along with the email address that people are going to be submitting on the form, wherever your forms are they also going to be able to put their physical address?
Yeah, that is currently not a Mailer Lite, but for this plan, they would need to.
No, I mean, I think it's important
Yeah.
that you know that they actually live in the borough.
Yes.
And not visited here once.
Right.
It should benefit the people in the borough.
So there'll be like several different ways to self-identify, but we'll also need to check that the physical address is in the borough. And I think you brought up last time, what if they move? So there is going to have to be some maintenance on the list. Yeah, I did, to Ori's point, do a little research on bounce rates on sign-up forms. And if you ask more than 5 questions, the bounce rate goes up by like 50%. So we have 5 questions. Yes, if you could come forward, please.
So for the survey email, is it more to get information from people directly or to get people here to talk about the situation?
For the email, oh, can you say your name, please?
Oh, I'm Paul Menzel.
Welcome. So both, we had public last time and in the past who said they don't know when we're talking about something. They want more notifications from the borough, like, hey, we're talking about this ordinance change and we want people to come. With the survey, we just want a good percentage of the borough to weigh in. Do you want Airbnbs in Yardley Borough? Like, that would be, like, the survey wouldn't be very long, because we don't feel like we're getting a representative sample coming to council meetings, and we want to know what the vast majority of the borough wants. And there might be other issues like that where, like, you know, we're considering, what would be another example that we have in the past that's not super weird, like a TOD? Easier to explain than a TOD.
Well, I get it, because
Yeah.
I did not know anything about the Airbnb ordinance, and I think many other people did, and you said it's usually very, very low attendance. So I think being able to let people know that they can come and talk about it is probably good, but also, you know, we all know it's easy for people to be trolls and hide behind their computer and put in feedback. So I was just kind of curious if it was just like, are we voting yes, no for this, or come to the discussion?
I think it's, thank you for bringing that up. And I think like what brought it on is the idea that there's like a bell-shaped curve, and it feels like we're missing the people in the middle, we're getting the people who are extreme for, extreme against.
Of course.
And that's what happens with these issues. But really, in a small community, we could do a lot better than that. And so you're right that surveys can be, you get the keyboard warrior response. I think it's like a dimension, it's useful, but in person,
It could be a hot, medium, cold.
for issues like this issue, which turns out to be a much bigger issue, you know, the ideal would just be to have some community discussions on just that issue outside of a council meeting. On something like this, or like TOD or EIT, or these big things that happen that the community needs time to process and really weigh in.
Yeah, I will say if we get response from 90% of borough residents and the vast majority are against something, I think that's either telling that it's a very unpopular thing, or we're doing a poor job with education around the topic. So we've had a few things that have failed in the eyes of public opinion in the past that I just feel were not communicated correctly, and the public didn't actually know what they were against. So it's a little bit of both.
Cool. And back to the Airbnb thing, has that been decided already, or
No.
that's still, okay.
Well, no, you had, yeah.
Nelson to give an update.
Yeah, we have a draft ordinance out there, and we had lots of discussion on whether we should allow them and how we should allow them, et cetera, and in what areas of the town. And so currently, we're working on an ordinance that would allow limited amounts of Airbnb in the commercial district only. And so we have an ordinance going around for comments on that from Planning Commission, and we had a lot of discussion here. We're going to
So I assume
act on
it's
that
too late to
next
bring
month.
up comment about it in general, or? No. I was just,
Because the residential, just to clarify, on the residential side, we didn't vote to move on that. In other words,
Oh, okay,
it's
okay,
currently
so-
legal in the residential area, and
Got it.
either it'll stay illegal, or people will say, oh, we want some of it in some way. That's what we're trying to figure out, and that's kind of using that as an sort of the impetus to create a better outreach
So the current law is, it's illegal in residential or legal, you said?
Legal.
Illegal in residential, and then commercial is what you guys are writing the ordinance for?
Commercial's unregulated.
Okay.
it's legal in the commercial area zone, but it has no regulations around it in terms of inspections and
Yeah.
noise ordinance. There's no, so we're putting some meat around it. If you want to do it in the commercial zone, here's the things you need to follow.
And
it's-
where we left it with the residential piece was, we need to get more input from a broader audience before we consider this again. So that's where the survey
It's illegal
came.
based upon Yardley Borough standards, not
Zoning.
like it's a zoning thing.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Zoning.
And then that's going to be back up for, I don't have an Airbnb, I'm just curious.
Yeah, and like to give you an example, we've had people in here responding to flyers and things being like very strongly against that. Then we've had like conversations that I've seen like on social media where there's like a lot of people for it,
Yeah.
Other ones, so, where are people on that? And what do they want us to do? Because ultimately, I think we want to do what people want.
Yeah. Makes sense. Cool.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this? All right, so I guess I have the thumbs up to move forward with this. You will be receiving a phone call from me asking you to help with this. There's door knocking on here and stuff, so look forward to that contact from me. I don't have anything else on the public agenda. We do have an executive session this evening on the topic of a legal matter, and there will be no vote after that. So we are going to adjourn into executive unless there is any last-minute additions. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn into executive session?
So moved.
Motion was made by Councilperson Finer, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Meeting adjourned at 8:47. Thank you, everyone.